not the same nuts every day, but to have some variety so that you can learn to tolerate and also have a diversification so that you get more of the nutrients that you require.
And this is to clarify, the rotation diet is actually rotating the foods that came out safe for you, because you don't want to develop new allergies. So the rotation diet is not used to determine which foods you are allergic to. It's used to avoid you becoming allergic to the foods that are right now okay for your immune system. And as you eliminate, we're going to eliminate the foods for a certain amount of time that you were reactive to. The remaining foods, which are your, let's say, safe foods, we're going to rotate so you don't overconsume them. And then as we try to reintroduce foods that you may have reacted to initially, after we take them out for a while, after we help the digestive system, then we'll put those foods into the rotation. In other words, you don't eat those foods every day again. You're going to eat them, occasionally, and give your immune system a break, basically, from confronting that same protein or that same chemical in the food on an ongoing basis.
Are there supplements that you can take during this elimination phase?
There are, and they really are supplements that help some of the things I already talked about. For instance, in some cases, we'll recommend digestive enzymes, which are normally made by your pancreas, but additional enzymes, particularly to digest proteins, can be helpful in lowering your potential to react to a food. If someone is low in hydrochloric acid in the stomach, we may use some hydrochloric acid supplementation. There are some things that are very important for the integrity of the intestinal lining to keep proteins and other things out of the bloodstream until the body has prepared them. Things like L-glutamine. There are some herbs or botanicals that are commonly used, for instance, to help inflamed or even ulcerated intestinal linings. We could use in this application as well. Things like licorice root, slippery elm, marshmallow root, chamomile. A lot of people sip chamomile tea when they have an upset stomach.
So when I get these test results back, can I contact ALCAT?
800 US ALCAT. We have staff who can answer questions. We have staff who can provide directions to who in your local area you can contact for ongoing guidance and support.
Very good. Okay, I'd like to hear about some testimonials. Tell me some case studies.
Well, I do a myriad or a large array of different types of very cutting-edge metabolic and nutritional testing. And the ALCAT test is one of the most common tests that I do. It's certainly not the only one, but it is one of them. And it's really been the key to unlocking mysteries in some very difficult cases, including situations where we know food sensitivity, food intolerance, food allergy may indeed be playing a role. And they're very diverse. Everything from vague gastrointestinal symptoms, bloating after meals, gas, people with irritable bowel syndrome, to those with respiratory conditions, reactive airway disease and asthma, skin conditions, rashes that no one can figure out, headache, fatigue. There's been many situations where we've tried a lot of different things, a lot of different dietary strategies. We looked at thyroid diseases and things like that in conditions and ruled them all out, and someone could still not lose any weight. And at the end of the rope, in the beginning, before we figured out this strong connection, we would ALCAT test them or food intolerance and sensitivity test them, get them off the foods their immune system didn't agree with, and all of a sudden, if they then followed a decent dietary regime and some of the other supplementation things we do, they were able to lose weight. So it seemed to be able to provide a little bit of a shift in metabolism when someone got on a diet that was compatible with their unique biochemistry. So it's really, food allergy and food intolerance can cause a whole range of symptoms and signs around the body. And it's a very diverse mix. And it never ceases to amaze me. I've had people come in. I had one woman come in who she was in her late 30s, and I remember the day she came in. It was several years ago, but my medical assistant came out of the room from doing her vital signs and doing some of the initial things, and said, "You're not going to believe this woman's rash. She has such a bad rash on her face, back, and arms that she even has cracks on her face that are oozing and bleeding." And when I went and met with the woman, the minute I looked at her, my interpretation, just through my experience, is she was having a very bad allergic, what we call an atopic allergic type of reaction, or she was very toxic, or something was going on. And when I did her history, I found out that she had been to an Ivy League medical teaching hospital and had seen multiple dermatologists, multiple allergists. She actually was the topic of a grand rounds presentation between the allergy and dermatology department at an Ivy League medical school. And she was put on oral and topical corticosteroids and other types of things that, you know, are tried with allergies and skin disorders, and she didn't have any luck. Finally, she found out about our sort of integrative practice that looked sort of at things a little bit differently at times. And one of the things we did with her was an ALCAT test, and found out that she was very sensitive to dairy and somewhat sensitive to corn. And when that came back, you know, she was really astonished because she had been tested, according to her, for allergies. But they did more conventional testing. Many people have maybe had the needles pricked under their skin to look if there's a reaction, which really works well in these immediate allergies I was talking about earlier, especially for airborne allergies, dust and dander and mold and things like that. For a lot of the delayed pathway food allergies, it doesn't work at all. So we tested her in a different way and found out she was allergic. And when we eliminated those things from the diet, she had a dramatic turnaround. Not only her skin condition, but she had had chronic colds and flus. She had low energy and low vitality, and chronic yeast infections because her immune system was so under siege from the allergies it couldn't really deal with some of the other things. She also had mild asthma as well. And so on the steroids, that also created yeast infections, and she was really a mess. And within a very short amount of time, I think 4 to 6 weeks, her rashes were about 50% gone. And within, I think it was 3 to 4 months, they were absolutely gone, 100%. And needless to say, she was very happy and pleased with what we had done in our office. She was equally upset at having gone to an Ivy League medical institution and they couldn't figure this out. And she had been suffering with this for almost 2 years.
And here's a question everyone wants to know. How does taking the ALCAT test slow down the effects of aging?
Fantastic question. It does actually prevent the degenerative diseases that are associated with the aging process. Dr. Brady talked about the metabolic syndrome, which is cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and obesity. There's also a lot now in the scientific literature of studies done just in the last few years showing that the activation of the immune system is producing free radicals, which are damaging molecules produced by the immune system to protect the body by combating viruses and bacteria to help detoxify and so forth. But the problem is that if you have an inflammatory process going on for a short time to fight an actual pathogen, it's a positive thing. There's a little bit of collateral damage. When you have ongoing chronic inflammation from foods you're eating every day or substances you're exposed to every day, this chronic inflammatory process produces too many free radicals and actual chemicals, mediators of inflammation that cause tissue damage. And the studies are showing that diseases as diverse that are associated with aging, diseases as diverse as cardiovascular disease, Alzheimer's, preeclampsia in females, of course, rheumatoid arthritis, and many skin diseases and so forth that we spoke about. These things are caused by the generation of free radicals that the immune system produces in order to prevent immediate damage. So it's a bit of a trade-off. It's like a military attacking some attacking army causes damage to the landscape, but it's better than having the attacking army come in and destroy your town. The immune system is constantly producing these destructive chemicals and free radicals that are causing destruction to cell membranes, actually causing damage to DNA, actually causing destruction to the tissues, cross-linking of proteins in the skin, and so many different things that result in all these symptoms we call aging. So again, eating the right food, the food becomes medicine. Eating the wrong food, the food becomes poison.
Dr. Brady, once we're armed with this ALCAT test result, where do we go from here?
Well, the test result provides the person with information. Of course, that information has to be put into play to get a positive benefit. Once this person has taken the step and had the test done, and they get information back about what foods they're sensitive to, either mildly, moderately, or significantly, with the test results, they're going to get some guides and instructions on how to avoid those foods for a certain amount of time, how to rotate their safe foods so that they don't develop more sensitivities, and they need to work that into their lifestyle. There's a lot of supportive materials on food substitutions, food replacements for certain things that maybe they were eating all the time that now they're sensitive to and they can no longer consume, at least temporarily. There is some nutritional supplemental protocols that can be followed to help digestion, help the immune system, and when that is all put together and put into your daily life over time, you should expect that maybe some of your symptoms, some of your problems start becoming less and less. It won't be overnight. It takes a little while for the immune system to calm down. Also, it should be noted that it doesn't really take a lot of consumption of a food you're sensitive to keep these immune pathways activated. Which means, let's say you get a sensitive food back. You may make the conclusion that if I avoid that food 50% compared to what I'm eating it now, I'll be 50% better. That's not necessarily the case. You actually have to avoid it to let the immune system calm down. So once you put this into play, give it some time. I really suggest that people keep a little symptom or condition diary so they can understand. Because sometimes, you feel really bad and you start doing stuff, and 30 days, 60 days later, you go, hey, I feel pretty good. But once you feel better, you forgot just how bad you were 2 months ago. You forgot all those little symptoms. So if you write it down and document it, I think it really helps. But the system, the ALCAT system, will give you all the tools you need to put this into play. And certainly, it's not a bad idea to consult with a nutritionally savvy healthcare provider. And if you call the laboratory, they would be happy to give you a referral to someone in your region or your area.
We're talking about a health program. We're talking about optimizing health, and certainly no one would question that diet, nutrition, good lifestyle, exercise, right frame of mind is the foundation to enable that to happen. However, it's important to understand that if you have a medical condition, you need to see the proper medical professionals to deal with that. You can add dietary programs, nutritional programs, and protocols to your medical treatment, but don't regard health and preventive measures as being a substitute for medical attention that you may need. So if you have any doubt about whether you have a condition that requires medical attention, by all means, go and see a qualified medical practitioner.
And for Cell Science Systems and ALCAT Worldwide, Dr. Brady, Roger Deutsch, thank you very much.
Thank you.